as a Christian fantasy author, I enjoy fantasy. I love epic stories of adventure and craziness where you go into a new world and explore a realm that is similar and yet very different from our own. Worlds of crazy creatures and dragons and death defying epic craziness. Those are some of my absolute favorite stories ever. And what I really love is when you can combine all of that epic fantasy craziness with deep Christian truths that glorify God and point the reader to God and to actually living like Him. Those are the best kinds of stories, in my opinion. And so, in a previous video, I shared some of my top 5 Christian fantasy stories. And today, I want to share with you 5 additional ones because there are so many good ones out there, and you can never have enough Christian fantasy to read, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we have The Song of Aduel by Kevin King. This is an epic fantasy story set in another world where there's the curse of Aduel that falls upon certain people that strips people of their power and turns their skin and hair white. The main character, Rayandel, is afflicted with this curse, and his only protection is his service to the royal family. There's lots of craziness that happens in the story: fighting, torture, revenge, epic world building, magic, and of course, emotional deep trauma and dealing with themes of guilt, redemption, duty, friendship, love, obsession, all of that. All of the amazing fantasy themes. I very much enjoyed this book, and I hope that you guys would as well. All right, next up, we have The Girl Behind the Red Rope by Ted Dekker and Rachel Dekker, his daughter. This is a book that blew my mind because normally in Christian fiction, it's fairly obvious who the good guys and the bad guys are, what the themes are, what's going on in the story. You can tell very easily what's going to happen and whose side everyone is on. This book threw all that out the window. While you can guess things, for the most part, the girl behind the red rope does such an incredible job of enthralling us into an epic fantasy story with supernatural themes and crazy world building, but giving a lot of complexity to the characters and to the story and to the world and to the themes, in that you really have a hard time telling what is going on and specifically who the good guys and bad guys are. And I really deeply appreciated that about this book. So if you're wanting some complexity, The Girl Behind the Red Rope is for you. Let's jump into the description. In a world where the boundaries are clear and punishments severe, a young woman risks everything to break free from the system of fear and control to find freedom and love. Honestly, that is not a good description of the book. I think it makes everything sound super clear and general and vague. It makes the themes and story sound super obvious when in reality it's a lot more complex and deep than that. All of the supernatural fantasy elements make this such a more vivid and engaging story. So the description they give, not the best ever, but check out the book anyways because it is well worth it, even if the description isn't as captivating as the book actually is. All right, for the next two, we basically have a 2-for-1 deal, and that is the Dragons of Starlight and Tales of Starlight series. What Brian Davis did with these two series is very cool and very engaging. He basically has 2 storylines going on at the same time with 2 boys from this family that are from their own fantasy world into another fantasy world where all of the humans are enslaved by dragons. There's all sorts of crazy fantasy things with the various dragons of this world. I'm a sucker for a good dragon in a fantasy story, so I love that. And these Starlight figures who have powers of storytelling and hypnotism and illusion. So the first part of this story is in Dragons of Starlight, which follows Jason Masters and is geared towards a slightly younger audience, so think young adult, middle grade fiction. The story, at least for book one, is about Jason Masters doubted the myths that told of people taken through a portal to another realm and enslaved by dragons. But when he receives a cryptic message from his missing brother, he must uncover the truth and find the portal before it's too late. At the same time, Corin, a slave in the dragon's realm, discovers she has a gift that could either save or help doom her people. As Jason and Corin work to rescue the enslaved humans, a mystic prophecy surrounding a black egg may make all their efforts futile. And in that description, it mentions the kidnapped brother, and that is Adrian Masters. And we follow his concurrent running storyline in the Tales of Starlight series. And the Tales of Starlight series is more for the young adult to new adult age range. So, really, both series are perfectly accessible for audiences, but the writing for Tales of Starlight is geared more for an in depth, older audience. So, for this one, the description reads Expert swordsman Adrian Masters attempts a dangerous journey to another world to rescue human captives who have been enslaved there by dragons. He is accompanied by Marcel, a swords maiden of amazing skill whose ideas about how the operation should be carried out conflict with his own. Since the slaves have been in bonds for generations, they have no memory of their origins, making them reluctant to believe the two would-be rescuers. And of course, the dragons will crush any attempt to emancipate the slaves. Set on two worlds separated by a mystical portal, Masters and Slayers is packed with dragons, action, mystery, and emotional turmoil. A tale of heart and life that is sure to inspire. And I agree, it does inspire. Both of these series are epic and engaging, and of course, as I mentioned, I'm a sucker for a good dragon storyline. Alright, and last off, we have the Beyond the Circle series by Ted Dekker. Now, I've mentioned this one in another video where I'm exploring the Books of History Chronicle universe by Ted Dekker, and this is the final series within that larger world, where we go back to the world of Other Earth from the Circle series, which is my favorite fantasy series of all time. And this one does an excellent job of going back and exploring more in depth with some of those themes and showing us a different side to that world than what we've explored previously. I wouldn't necessarily recommend reading this as a standalone just because it builds so much on the world building and characters of the rest of the books. However, it can be read as a standalone, and it's not too confusing. I just think that you might be missing a lot of what makes it super engaging and special if you don't read some of the other books in the series. But let's go ahead and jump into the description. Some say the great mystery of how one can live in two worlds at once died with Thomas Hunter many years ago. Thomas Hunter is the main character of the Circle series. Still, others that the gateway to that greater reality was and is only the stuff of dreams, but they are wrong. In the small town of Eden, Utah, a blind girl named Rochelle Matthews is about to find out just how wrong. When a procedure meant to restore her eyes goes awry, she begins to dream of another world so real she wonders if Earth might be only a dream experienced when she falls asleep in that reality. She is the prophesied one who must find and recover 5 ancient seals in both worlds before powerful enemies destroy her. If Rochelle succeeds in her quest, peace will reign. If she fails, both worlds will forever be locked in darkness. Alright, so there you have it. Those are 5 more of my all-time favorite Christian fantasy series / books. They all have deep truths and explore themes related to God and identity and redemption and biblical truth, but also set around crazy epic fantasy storylines in their own worlds that are like ours, but much different and much more exciting. And of course, if you're looking for another Christian fantasy book or series that you might like, you can check out the Creativity Stone series by Caleb Ward. Let me know what you think of all of these books in the comments and what your favorite Christian fantasy series is.